first time I had to deal with a disciplinary thing, my heart was beating so fast, but you have to keep your cool. I kept my cool. And I went through all the steps and I got everything done. And
for some reason, every time I was on rounds, there weren't any loud people. And so I was really, really nervous to give my first noise violation.
As far as disciplinary things go for House President, I think that's probably what I'm the worst at. I'm very big on self-monitoring, and I didn't really have a problem. I've never had to get a fine or anything like that. And so it's hard for me to understand that they don't realize how loud they're being, or they don't realize the safety implications of the action that they're taking.
It's not fun to fine people or to discipline them. It's part of the job. It is keeping others safe, because we don't know where that alcohol is ending up, if it's in the hands of kids under 21. So just knowing that you're watching out for other people on campus kind of makes that situation better.
For me, at least, the before it happens is the most worrisome, and then once it happens, you're there, and so then it's not as big of a deal.
I mean, you're nervous. You're always with this authority role. You're wondering, how is this going to play out?
Personally, for me, it was really awesome to have that other person with me, because I was nervous to go in there, and that feeling has never really gone away. It's just overcoming that. And so the first time it was great to have someone else there, and I don't know if he was nervous. He may have been, and it's just nice to have that support system. Like, I'm nervous, and maybe he's nervous, but we're not going to tell each other that because we don't want to be embarrassed by it. But so we're both going to do it anyways, even though we're nervous. And so that was really nice for us, and we handled the incident great. And well, I wouldn't say great, but we handled it as best we could.
I know I'm going through my head, and I was like, I could do this, but I could not do this. I should do this, but I really don't want to because it's scary.
I could easily walk away from the situation and no one would know, but my ethics would tell me otherwise.
You always feel this rush of emotion. It's kind of adrenaline, this oh, what do I do? And it's very easy to not go towards it, to back up or say you didn't see it or didn't hear it. But if you just use that surge of energy to puff yourself up and be like, I'm powerful, and you can walk towards the situation, confront it, and then afterwards you can go crawl in a hole.
I remember my heart was beating so fast and I'm nervous, but in my head I'm thinking, okay, you can't let them know that you're nervous, because then it takes away kind of that sense of authority.
Just stay confident, even if you're not, just look like it and lie to them, because if they see it, they'll know. He's a really good friend of mine, but I just told him, I was like, hey, you need to be quiet, and he screamed at me and said some few words and just kind of challenged my authority. So I just walked in there and started writing him up, asked for his ID, and he was a little upset. He thought I was, attacking him, and I just told him straight up, it's my job, and you challenged it on it, and you messed up.
So I knocked on the door, and I was ready to give my fine, and they didn't answer, and I was so frustrated because I had built up the courage to do that, and they weren't even there.
And so I was like, all right, well, time to go talk to him. And it's somebody who was kind of intimidating, and I didn't know exactly what to say, but I started off, hey, I see that you have a beer in your hand. Did you know you're on campus? And kind of talk through those situations just step by step. But then he took me down a course that I wasn't prepared to go down, with questioning and, oh, why are you doing this? And I know the rules, but then I had a chance to talk to other people in res life and kind of debrief and just kind of take a breather. And then the next time I had to do it, I was prepared for, okay, if I know where I'm going to take it if they want to go off in a different direction. And
I was on rounds one night, and I knocked on a door, and I asked them to keep it down, and the girl was just like, oh, and she started to shut the door in my face, and I stepped inside and I caught the door, and I opened it back up. She turned around and she was really surprised, and I was like, so are we understanding each other? You're gonna start keeping it down? She was like, uh-huh. I was like, okay, have a nice night. Shut the door.
One of my housemates came back and she was intoxicated, and so I didn't do the actual knocking in that. Somebody knocked on my door and she was like throwing up and sick and things. And then there was like guys on the hall helping her to her room, and it was a fiasco. So yeah, like I think in that moment it wasn't as bad because I didn't have a choice. We're like going on rounds, like my first time to give a fine, like knocking on the door was there was more time to like think about it and get worked up to be like, how am I gonna phrase my statement, not to be too angry but to be sincere that this is not okay.
So I knocked on that door and was confronted with the angriest person you'll ever see, who was completely drunk, and I just knew at that time you had to stonewall. You're not going to be rude, you're not going to be judgmental, but you're going to make your expectations very clear.
Afterwards, as we kept walking, I was just like, oh my god, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I was sweating, my heart was beating really fast. But then you get done and you're just like, huh.
If you channel that into power and kind of, I know I'm in the right, I'm going to do the right thing, it always ends up better.
The conversation, it was a bit awkward at the beginning, but as you do that more, as you're required to, you become more and more comfortable with it.
It has gotten easier throughout the year to do the disciplinary stuff because A, the relationship's there, and B, the expectations are there. So they know what's too loud. They know what I'm expecting and what I have to comment on and discipline them about.